that a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm seeing Mark is in the pits. Nathan Reese taking the lead from Campbell, I think you mentioned. But I guess take us through just briefly what happened while we were a little offline here.
When you came back in the lobby, which you can see Mark died in P70 pitted, and sadly for who was it now? Come on, think. Let's go. Nolan down in P15 there. He spun in the top 10. He was looking really good, being on the hard compound tyres. He spun coming out of turn 2. I think he just lost traction coming out of turn 2, being in the dirty air as well. He was in DS range of those soft runners, looking to go a very long stint and taking the lead of this race here. But Mark has pitted, has rejoined down in P17, and he has got somebody to overtake, which is Coxey, and he's caught him up in the worst possible way, being held up in the middle sector. So, interestingly, he's on the medium compound tyres, and will they go to the end? I am not quite sure, but am I seeing rain, or is that just me? It's rain. It's raining.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, look at that. So you can see it on board with the Red Bull here as when you look at that halo, you can see the droplets of rain as Mark is closing up to Coxey. Jamie, meanwhile, overtaking Killer Blue. But the rain is falling here, ladies and gentlemen, so this could make things very interesting as the race continues onwards, if the rain does start falling a little stronger. And if that is the case, Mark possibly kicking himself here for putting on a set of mediums, especially if we're going to have to or pit again for a set of intermediate tires. But we'll see how that's going to play out. But meanwhile, Tin Can and Larkin side by side as they're coming through up into turn 8. It looks like Larkin was able to get the move done from the inside, as now they're trying to close up to Major Viking. Carmentalus, meanwhile, taking a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, as that's going to be added on to his time. Not what he was hoping for here. But you can see here Nathan still leading with Campbell, keeping him very honest. But Jerome right up behind Campbell, and might be looking to go for an overtake. Take that P2 for himself here. They both have DRS, but Jerome was closing ever so slightly, but not much now as Campbell gets the slipstream from Nathan. Campbell gets ahead as he takes the lead of this Grand Prix. Jerome maybe thought about it for a little half a moment to sneak down on the outside there of Nathan, but thought better of it. Will remain in third, but Campbell is back in the lead of this Grand Prix here on lap 11. But something tells me that won't be the last time this lead is going to change here in this race, as also Larkin is going for an overtake and gets the overtake done around the inside of Major Viking through what I believe was turn 4 going into turn 5, if I'm recalling my turn numbers correctly. So Larkin making some progress here on those mediums, starting to feel a little grippy for him, albeit the rain, as he's making up a couple spots here up into 8th and chasing down AJ for another one here to try to go up into 7th.
Softs are deteriorated, and meanwhile, while the rain is coming out, making the track even more greasy, the softs even more difficult to drive. So that's why Larkin's tyres are coming into play. He's making moves as Larkin. He made one coming out of turn 7 last time. He's made one down the inside of turn 5. We've got Walter in the pit lane for his first stop, and Jamie in as well. So they're in the pit lane to get rid of the soft compound tyres. Manu Viking will follow as well down in P8 there, and let's see where Mark rejoins. Well, he's right behind Nolan, but Manu Viking has crashed in the pit lane, has he?
Oh no!
Oh, I'm trying to look. I can't really see, but we'll find out if with. I thought Cox was going to go to the pit lane, but will rotation go to the pit lane? Will we see the Haas spin in the pit lane and crash? He doesn't go in the pit lane. I wanted to see what happened, but it looks like he's spun halfway down the pit lane. No, his Haas car is still going. So did he just press the retire button, the Avatari? I'm not quite sure. His car's gone. His car's gone, so he must have crashed at the pit lane.
That's what I'm thinking. It must have been a pit lane incident there. I know that that left-handed wall can show up very quickly if you're not careful. As I know from experience, from nearly running into it myself in qualifying in my own race. Yep, no shame. But
talk about that. The reason why Calvin retired is because on his hard compound tyres, he didn't mean to pit, but on the hards, he spun coming out of turn 16 and he spun in the pit lane, which he didn't mean to do. He meant to continue, and obviously he called it quits for the day, so that's why he's retired. Meanwhile, Geary gets ahead of Tin Can, making use of that virtual safety car, but will we see some more drivers dash off into the pit lane then, because Walter is rejoined down in P40 behind his teammate, interestingly. So once he gets up to his teammate, let's see if it makes it easy for him. But Girouvas are right behind QVR Campbell. These top three decide to stay. I didn't realise these soft tyres could go for a long way, but obviously you can see they're managing it. You can see Bliss performing on those tyres. AJ has pitted on those stock-up tyres, wants to get rid of it because they'd always be struggling. So he wants to get rid of those tyres. And let's see then, where's Mark? Mark has rejoined ahead of Walter, but his tyres are 3 laps old. So we'll see then how it copes towards the end of this race on those medium compound tyres. Walter's the DRS of Nolan. Nolan's not slowing down because he's at the DRS of Mark as well, so he just wants to stay ahead. While Walter's close enough, he'll let him go, I presume. There's no point holding him up on different strategies there.
No, but I think there you can see there Nolan going a little bit wide on the exit of that corner, and that was all Wouter needed to get ahead, as he's going to continue the charge towards Mark. Now, for the top three there, as much as they're staying out a long time on those soft tires, but to be fair to them, they've got a good gap here. The top three do to Killer Blue, who's got a little bit of a cushion behind Larkin, who's on that charge, and the lead medium tire runner, who's possibly the pure I'll say a decider of pace due to lack of a better term here. But if Larkin can start closing up, that might indicate to the soft tire runners it's time to pit. But already Nathan, he's said enough is enough, as he's going to go for it. Try something here. Killer Blue following along, but for QVR Campbell and Jerome, they're staying out for one more lap here on the soft tires. But I don't think they're going to do more than just one here, knowing that their two main rivals, the likes of Nathan and Killer Blue, they've put on a set of mediums, so if they're starting to fly here and can start getting ahead, that undercut could prove to be very powerful here. Meanwhile, for a driver who didn't quite have the best qualifying, Isaac Kush, he's up into 7th right now, and you can see following this train here, and he can see 4th very close by. If he can just get a couple overtakes done already, thinking about going around the outside of Old School, but that opportunity's close by. Switching over to the inside now as he's close, but doesn't want to take too much risk here. Still early days here in this race, only lap 14, so I think he's going to bide his time. And yeah, Jerome getting ahead of QVR Campbell while I was busy looking at all of that.
He's got a puncher. He's got a left foot puncher.
Oh,
QVR Campbell has to stay a footless puncher. He's been out there for way too long, and that's why he's slowing down. So looks like Giroux will stay at one more lap. Why would you stay at one more lap when you got a punch on the left foot? But QVR Campbell's race has been ruined due to that left foot punch, and it's the pit lane he will go there. So that's the limit those soft tyres can go for. I'm interested to see why Giroux has stayed out there. He should pit, but he's going to get undercut massively here, and he could risk being out on a puncher as well. So big risk there for Giroux to stay out. Yeah,
and I think he might have. I don't think he might have realised that that Campbell had a puncture on those tires when he got by. So I think, as far as Jerome's concerned, I think he feels everything's just fine and dandy, and that was a regularly scheduled pit stop for Campbell. But we'll have to see if Jerome can survive that one last lap on those soft tires. He does have a little bit of a gap between himself and Larkin, who's in 2nd. But the question is, are the tires going to last here? As he's going to approach Sector 3, that'll really make or break it here, I think, right around where Campbell lost it, or where Campbell's tires popped here one lap ago. We'll keep an eye out on Jerome, but it looks like he should be able to make it through, maybe having nursed them just a little bit better, being able to just hang out in 3rd and not have to battle as much with the top 2 did. But there you go. He says enough is enough now, does Jerome. He's going to dive into the pit, so XL Larkin will take the lead of this Grand Prix. But the question is, here comes Mark around the final corner now. Wouter is going to follow along. I think Jerome's going to fall down the order just a little bit here, but where is he going to end up compared to the likes of Nathan, who's just crossing the line now? Nathan's going to get well ahead. Nolan's getting fairly ahead, I believe. Jamian getting ahead. So Jerome, as much as he's come out ahead of QVR Campbell, you can't help but think they might have lost out a little bit compared to some of the other runners who took their pit stop a little bit earlier in this race.
Yep, rejoined all the way down to P11. It's going to be in a massive change. You have to make all that time back, and as you can see, Walter being very far ahead, so is Mark. So lost a lot of time. Can Giroud gain all that time back? Obviously, his tyres will be in good shape, so it'll be a full push from now to the end. Meanwhile, Isak Kush got past Gary there. But if a puncture was going to happen, QVR Campbell was very lucky it didn't happen anywhere else because it was a slow speed corner, not a fast speed corner where he could potentially split out and lost even more time.
Yeah, and you could see that with the onboard, that very difficult to keep the car under control with that puncture, with Campbell sliding around all over the place. But thankfully, like you said, he got it in Sector 3, right when he only had just a couple of corners to go. So all things considered, could have been much worse for him. But still, he's down to 13th, so I'm sure he's feeling the damage. Meanwhile, you can see Mark on your screen going for an overtake on Old School, and I believe he does get the overtake done. Wouter following right behind in the McLaren goes up to 5th. So Old School watches both the Red Bull and the McLaren driver get ahead as he falls down into 6th. As he's going to have to try to keep up there. As Campbell also getting ahead of Killer Blue into Turn 1 and Turn 2 as he's going to start his charge back up the field. Gaining a position now up into 12th now is Campbell, but still has a bit of a ways to go to catch up to Jerome, who's running in 11th, 2.5 seconds ahead.
Meanwhile, Relentless Nathan is right behind Commentalist, who's on the hard compound tyres like Nolan, so he needs to get past him as quick as possible because crucially, Walter and Mark can start pulling away. Bearing in mind, Mark has still got Gary, Issa Kush and Larkin to catch up, but Nathan just needs to make his way past these guys as he was so close to Sector 1, but obviously there's no way through, so he has to make it happen on the straight and try and reduce that gap and try and get Old School as well before Walter and Mark will start pulling away and try and make their way past Gary and the rest of them. But where's Jeroen? He's currently 9/10s behind Nolan on a fresh set of medium. Should get easily respecting that tyre difference between Nolan and Jeroen Visser, and Mark's not in the 1 second range yet. He's defending from Walter. Walter, is he going to make a move into turn 1? Is he close enough to make a move? Look at it, he's using the overtake, and down the inside he goes into turn 1. He goes side by side into turn 1 and into turn 2. Walter getting out of shape, slightly cut out of turn 1, allowing Mark to just stay ahead of him for the time being, and Nathan crucially gets past Carmentis, Jeroen Visser, and Nolan spun again coming out of turn 1.
Oh no, unfortunate for Nolan, as he has another moment through into turn 1. He's down in 14th now, but that might be, he might be starting to feel the wear on those hard tires. I'm sure they can go a little bit longer, but I think they're past that peak performance range, and Nolan seeing that firsthand there as he goes for a spin, falls down the order, and he's going to have his work cut out for him now. It was a good attempted move though from Wouter into turn 1. Just unfortunately, yeah. But right as I say that, he tries it again, and this time he is successful, getting ahead of Mark to go to get up into 4th. As now they're both still trying to close up to XL Gary. Meanwhile, we did see Nathan get ahead of Carmentalist. Right around the same time that Wouter was attempting the overtake the first time around. So good news there for Nathan, as next up is Old School, who's on 18-lap-old medium tires. Could be planning his pit stop accordingly. And meanwhile, Isaac Kush into turn 1 with DRS. He gets ahead and he takes the lead of this Grand Prix. Wouter and Mark side by side through turns 1 and 2 as they're taking the sweeping right-hander now. It's Mark on the inside, Wouter on the outside, but heading into turn 4, it is going to be the McLaren driver who hangs on to that position. Will remain in 4th, with Mark still in 5th, following right alongside and practically pushing Wouter around that left-handed corner. Not going to go forward here into turn 8, unsurprisingly. That's a little bit daring. And takes a penalty to boot there, does Mark. So not what he was hoping for. Maybe battling the car just a little bit in that dirty air through turn 8. But 3 seconds will be added on to Mark's time here at the end of the race, which really doesn't help his case here, being so close to the front here, and not too many other drivers around him having taken penalties here so far.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a very common place to pick up a penalty. But Nathan is right behind Old School. He wants to overtake him on the straight so he can stay in that battle between Mark and Walter, because while those two were fighting, Nathan and Old School was able to close up. Nathan has overtaken Old School for P6 and he's got the DRS to support him down the straight as Mark's too far back to go for it. But that was a fantastic battle between Mark and Walter previous lap before, as Mark goes a little bit wider to turn 2, compromises entry to turn 3. But let's see that Nathan on the fresher tyres in P5. He's in DRS range of Mark, so it could be an interesting battle between Walter, Mark and Nathan as well. Jaruvas are down in P10. He's 2.2 seconds behind Jamian. Jamian is behind Carmentalist, and Carmentalist still good on those hardcore power tyres along with Nolan and Coxie. It's surprised those guys haven't pitted it. They're definitely doing hard to soft, so wait for them to make their pit stop soon. But Carmentalist, the highest hard runner, will have the benefit of the freshest soft tyres towards the end of this race. Just going to wait it out even longer, and the safety car will definitely benefit them. And Walter then, he's 1.4 seconds behind Gary. Thing is though, once they catch up to Gary and Co, they're all in DRS range of each other, so it might be a bit difficult to try and close in and overtake. But Nathan then, he's right behind Mark on those 5-lap younger tyres, as Mark went for a very early undercut there. And now he's got Nathan in his rear view mirror, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens on this straight as Walter closes in on Gary. Then he needs to get himself in that 1 second range. Gary compromised coming out of turn 16, slided the car just a bit with those old medium compound tyres. In fact, Gary's lost DRS. That DRS line being on turn 16 there where he made a mistake. He's lost the DRS towards Larkin then, so that'll be vulnerable down the straight as Larkin then still trying to regain the lead off Isa Kush. Isa Kush is lower DRS, so Larkin will close it up on him and try and overtake him down into turn 1 again. And Carmentalist has got past Old School, and there goes Jamie. Can they try and swoop around the outside into turn 3? No, but he's got the better grip and try and possibly get to turn 4 there. We're going side by side then as we make our way into turn 4. Jamie has the inside line. Old School stays around the outside, and Old School maintains 8th place away from Jamie.
Yeah, and it looked to be a bit of a mistake from Old School going into turn 1, which allowed Carmentalist to go through and nearly open the door for Jamie and to get the overtake done himself through turn 2. But a good recovery from Old School to keep himself in that P8 and keep himself in that fight there with those 20-lap old medium tires. But you got to think Old School might be planning a pit stop sooner rather than later. Similarly with Carmentalist, I would think, but I think both drivers at this point, they're really trying that one stop here, extend the harder compound and pit for a set of softs and go to the end. And I think, speaking of pit stops, that's exactly what Larkin is going to do as he pits from 2nd place. Carmentalist diving into the pits as well. Old School, meanwhile, staying out, similarly to Izat Kush. Wouter, though, meanwhile, through all of that, he gets ahead of XL Gary. So Wouter finds himself in P2, and he's got a 2.2 second gap to close up to Izat Kush, but on much fresher tires. Things are looking good for the McLaren driver, and of course Izat, I believe, still going to have to take a pit stop before the end of this race, possibly at the end of this lap or next lap to put on a set of soft tires and go to the end of this Grand Prix. Mark, meanwhile, right up on the back of XL Gary, but just can't quite seem to find the opportunity to overtake. He's going to want to get past him soon, though, as Nathan, who's on fresher tires, finds himself right behind. Crucially, Gary does get DRS on Wouter heading down that back straight, so still stood a fighting chance in keeping Mark behind, but you can see struggling for grip a little bit is Gary through Sector 3. Jerome and Old School, I would think, as Jerome muscling his way through, it looked like, from what I could see on the minimap there, up into 6.
Right left front tyre connected with the right rear tyre with Giroud and Old School. Luckily they did not spin, I thought they would. But crucially, Mark has to get past Gary. Gary's moving on the straight, he's fighting hard, I don't want to give this up. But sadly he will, because he's lacking ERS and he's lacking grip as well on those medium compound tyres. So Mark then gets ahead and he has to defend from Nathan behind as well. But I was about to say, it's crucial for Walter to pull away while Gary was in the middle between of those two days. It extended a 1.1 second gap, and he's got younger tyres as well, so that'll help him to his benefit. Nathan there will definitely want to try and get past Mark to try and keep in contact with Walter, because he's got the fresher tyres out of all 3 of them. We're just waiting for Jarubas and down the P5 to arrive on the scene because he's got the fresher tyres out of all of them. But Isa Kush and XL Larkin then have pitted for the soft compound tyres along with Carmentalist, so expect them to be fast towards the end of the race. They've got Tin Can, AJ Killer Campbell and Jamie ahead of them, so it should be very interesting to see what Isa Kush, Larkin and Carmentalist could do. spy starts at the back of the grid from Isa Kush. He knew he had the pace, but sadly for him, it just didn't quite work out. The validation's just kicking in there. Couldn't get a clean single lap, but it turns out he has the race pace.
Yeah, he's got the race pace. He's on the ideal compound of tires. Is Isaac Kush. He's just gonna have to get a run here, get past XL Tin Can, and already you can see down the inside line going for it, and he does get the overtake done. So already up one position, but 3.5 seconds to close up to AJ, who's running just inside the top 10 here on those 9-lap-old mediums. Gonna have his work cut out for him. Meanwhile, you can see Old School taking a pit stop. Nathan, meanwhile, getting ahead of Mark to go up into second, as now Nathan can get a turn to try to close that gap up. But crucially, between Wouter, who's in the lead of this Grand Prix, and what is now Nathan, still very crucial, just over 1 second is the gap. But with Nathan ahead, it looks like it's closing ever so slightly. Those fresher tires for Nathan seem to be getting the job done and helping him close the gap, finding a little bit more grip through the corners here than Wouter is. With how tricky this track is, with the rain falling ever so slightly, drivers trying to push, but you can't quite push the same way as you would when it's sunny and completely clear here. But Wouter doing what he can, but Nathan putting a lot of pressure here, and Mark still very much so in this, but similar to, I believe it was a week ago with the Red Bulls, just finding himself for now in third, but could be a little limited in what he can do, especially with this DRS train that's going to be started here with these top 3 runners.
Yep, indeed. We're just waiting for Gary to come into pit lane because he was fighting the lights and Larkin and Tinkan as well. Tinkan on the lap on mediums and Larkin on the new soft. So Gary needs to be in the pit lane before he loses too much time to those drivers and runs out of laps. He has to take a pit stop, of course. Could probably take those tires towards the end, but obviously he can't because they choose more than one tyre compound. But yeah, Nathan then in the DMS range of Wouter, having the 2-lap fresher tyres. Then Wouter, it's all similar and all even at the top of the table there because they've all got a penalty, so no disadvantage or advantage in terms of that. But Javu Visa does not have a penalty. He's currently 2.4 seconds behind Gary. I wonder what he could do in these last few laps because he's on the fresher tyres out of all of them in the top 3. And can he capitalise on those medium compound tyres, or would it be too late for him? Main talking point, if he doesn't get close to the top 3 in the end, is has he stayed out there too long? Same with QBR Campbell as well, down there in P7, who's currently fighting with Jamie, and he's currently 6/10 behind him. Isa Kush is right behind his teammate for P9. I didn't expect him to fight too much, being on different tyres, as Isa Kush then is up into P9, and he will continue to pursue Killer Blue, who is behind QVR Campbell, who is behind Jamie Ward for P6 then. So different tyres between QVR Campbell and Jamie. And let's see, will QVR Campbell make a move into turn 1? But Nathan then, right behind Wouter, pulls out to the right hand side, doesn't even use the ERS, and he moves up into first place there. So let's see what he can do. Can Wouter stick with him and try and regain the lead later on this race? We'll find out soon. But QVR Campbell makes the move on Jamie in there for P6 of the race.
Yep, so a good move from Campbell to get up into 6th, using DRS to his advantage, as did Nathan to take the lead of this Grand Prix. You can see Wouter in 2nd, a little bit of a gap is starting to form here, so Nathan looking a little bit more comfortable in this stage here of the race on those slightly fresher tires. But crucially though, behind them, Mark is struggling just a little bit here on the slightly more worn tires. I think he's starting to feel the wear here as we're approaching the end of this Grand Prix, well within the final 10 laps here. Math is going to be a little bit hard. I think 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, as it's going to really get interesting here. As you can see, strategy starting to blend here. Jerome right up on the back of XL Gary, who's still out on those 25-lap-old medium tires. He's got a pit here at the end of this lap. I'd be surprised if he stayed out, and well, color me surprised. He's still staying out, as Jerome should be able to get by him relatively easily here with those fresher tires, as is the case with DRS. But not much battery in the tank to try to close up that those near 6-second gap to his teammate here. to get near that top 3. XL Larkin, meanwhile, putting those soft tires to use, getting ahead of AJ, who's down into 11th after being overtaken by the Ferrari driver, but should have a little bit of a cushion with Tin Can behind him here. But you can see the soft tire runners are starting to push here just a little bit. They should have the pace, but I feel the track might not be playing to their advantage here. Ooh, a big moment from Isaac Kush as I was riding on board with him as he's trying to gain a little bit here in the final few laps. Meanwhile, Jamien, he's feeling comfortable there, getting ahead of XL Gary, who's heading the wrong way here in this order on those medium tires. And once again, for XL Gary, I think he's got a pit here at the end of this lap. I think he's well past his pit stop window here. The only reason I can see him trying to stay out is hoping for a safety car, but it just doesn't seem like that safety car is going to come. But another lap here for XL Gary on those mediums.
I can see him get a poacher.
Yeah, I was about to say I didn't want to bring it up and possibly jinx it, but you feel as if we've already seen one here. I'll say today. There is a possibility that we see another, as I think Gary, he's just going for broke with that safety car, hoping to get a little bit lucky. I think knowing that at this point, darned if you do, darned if you don't. Stay out, get the safety car, best case scenario. Pit, end up down the order, or get a puncture and end up down the order. I think that's honestly the mindset at this point of the race.
Or it could be that he thinks it's because it's raining that tyre rule don't apply, but it still applies because it started off dry and it is still technically dry with the DRS. So I really hope you don't think that because it's raining the tyre rule does not apply, but it still applies. Killer Blue then go for a move down the inside. Gary's just falling back now. He actually outbrakes himself as Killer Blue. Here comes Gary then, back down the inside. Killer Blue in the inside, but you don't want to touch that inside curb. And Isaac Kush all around the outside on those soft compound tyres. They're going side by side in a place you don't expect. Killer Blue then. Big contact and Isaac Kush is spun.
Oh no, just Isaac Kush with nowhere to go, and I was just about to say with Isaac behind, he just had nowhere to go as he was just trying to figure out who was going to win that battle, but side by side were Killer Blue and XL Gary, and unfortunately, through no fault of any driver, I think just playing it cautious, had to tap on the brakes. Isaac just trying to find that quicker line, just couldn't react in time. The contact was made, and the rest is history there from what we saw on stream. But very unfortunate for Isaac Kush, who just does not get the luck he was hoping for here, as has been the case seemingly for this entire race weekend for the Mercedes driver. But in 11th and still in the position to possibly salvage at least a point here. So as long as he can make it into the top 12.
Yeah, but he hit the back of Killer Blue quite hard there. Surprised he ain't got it for wind damage, at least green damage that we can't see, but still continuing. He's behind his teammate and Larkin ahead in P9. He's on the soft compound tyres, so it'll be a bit difficult being on the same tyre compounds as well. Excellent Larkin behind Gary. I'm surprised he's still going. There's no way that he can still put, obviously, but he can't make any positions up because I dare say it's way too late for him to make any positions up, seeing there'll be only like 3 laps to go. So he's blew his strategy there, and he will fall down the points. He's got Larkin right behind him. And Walter then is not close enough to make a move into turn 1 yet, and we've got Jamie on the back of QVR Campbell retaking 5th place, and QVR Campbell's actually run out of EOS, so Jamie in there with a lot of EOS at his disposal flew past the Aston Martin of QVR Campbell. Meanwhile, Larkin then goes down the inside of Gary. Good move him there for Larkin. They didn't get stuck behind the old medium runner too much. That's a Haas. Is that Jamie? Oh,
that
no,
looks
Jamie.
to be Jamie, and oh no, very unfortunate there, as that looked to be right on the exit of turn 3, I think, going very slow. So very unfortunate for Jamie. And Isaac Kush, meanwhile, he's just gone right back to work after that little half spin, finds himself around the outside of XL Gary and gets the overtake done, as he's now just like that back into 8th place. So I mean, never count this Mercedes driver out, it seems, as just when it seemed like as if he was just going to salvage a point, he's come right back, and well, I wouldn't say no harm, no foul, but essentially to where he would have been just one lap ago, just took him a little bit longer there to get to where he needed to go. But of course, back at the front here, not much has changed. You can see Nathan driving a stellar race as he's been able to keep that gap to just over, or just right around a second. Wouter did have DRS to try to close up, but Nathan just a little bit too far ahead to allow Wouter to really go for it. Mark, meanwhile, taking another 3-second time penalty that'll be added on to his time. Finally now, we see the Aston Martin of XL Gary take a pit stop here, going for a set of intermediate tires. So, an interesting call here. Jamie also taking a pit stop. You wonder if he's going to go for that as well, just run the intermediates for the last 2 laps. I don't know if it's truly timed just yet or not. It has been raining. No, Jamie going for the softs. Coxie in the pits as well. We'll see what he's gonna do. I don't know if that's a good call from Gary, but I think at this point he feels maybe he's got nothing to lose. So go for the gamble just in case things get worse, as he's down in 13th and might need a little bit of a help if he wants to find himself in the points here in that top 12.
Well, so then we're heading on to lap 22, and crucially, he is out of the DRS range of Nathan. Mark's dropped back, and he's got his teammate behind him. His teammate's 3 seconds behind him, and obviously Mark's got a 3-second time penalty. So, with the freshness of those medium compound tyres, it'd be very hard to just hold him back to try and stop a podium. But Nolan overtakes Gary. The intermediates are never an option around here. It's just that it just started raining just a little bit, but not enough to put on the intermediates. It's still the dry compound tyres are much better. And here comes Car Mentalist on tin can then for P10 on those soft compound tyres, and taking P9 away. And Killer Blue versus Larkin, and Larkin slips through on Killer Blue. And now we've got Isa Kush then behind him on the soft compound tyres. Could still take 6th place away despite that contact with Gary. Let's see then, if you've got the grip to come out of turn 4 to get him into turn 5, would he go down the inside? No, Killer Blue defends the inside line from Isa Kush there. But on those soft compound tyres, he gets a better exit at least. Will he try it? This is not a place I would try it. Yeah, the car ahead, who has track position, is why Isa Kush did go for it there. But does he have a chance now coming out of turn 9 into turn 10? They both got DRS obviously from the back of Larkin. Will he try and move down the inside into turn 11? No, Killer Blue defends the inside line. Good car placement from Killer Blue, preventing Isa Kush from overtaking. So Isa Kush best chance is to try and get him into turn 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting here, though. Ooh, Killer Blue almost looking to have a little bit of a moment. But, of course, as I switch over to the penalties, as the leaders are starting their final lap of the Grand Prix, Izat has 6 seconds of penalties to his name. Meanwhile, XL Gary, from bad to worse form there, as those intermediates really were not the call, as he had a moment on the exit of turn 8 on those inters. But looking here at the leaders, with Nathan and Wouter both on 3 seconds, Wouter, he's either going to have to really push or hope for a little bit of a mistake from Nathan here in the final few sectors.
Oh, Isa Kush almost spun, mate. He
my
Killer
goodness.
Blue are fighting, and they go into turn 4. They're going side by side now into turn 4. Isa Kush, they make contact again with the front tyres this time, and Isa Kush then gets sent into a half spin. It all happened at turn 3 when Killer Blue was just understeering, played off the track there, and Isa Kush was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. But Relentless Nathan then, fantastic race from him again, pitted at the right time, and retaking the leaders race away from Wouter, just drove a stellar race. But the thing is, peaked up a 3-second time penalty, which he didn't do in the last race, but nevertheless he won't care about that. As he makes his way towards the final sector then, Relentless Nathan will see the checkered flag in a few seconds' time. As he makes his way around the final corner, we see XL Gary ahead of us on the Inters. He wins the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Relentless Wouter. Mark will finish in P3, will be taken away from Jeruvisa, who will finish P3 instead. QVR Campo, who suffered a puncture, he still finishes P5.
And you can see, I think, a little bit of frustration though from Izat there, as he really went for a, I guess I'll say a, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Aggressive?
Aggressive, yes, but optimistic move, I think, is probably the term I'd use. Into the penultimate corner there, I think, not having the race he was hoping for, and I think just letting a little bit out there, knowing that the position wasn't going to be had anyways. But still, what a race from Nathan. I mean, he had pole position, didn't quite run away with it, but I mean, did what he had to do, kept the strategy sound, made very little mistakes, and worked out for him there, and just generally fast here. Wouter came close, but just couldn't quite keep the AlphaTauri driver behind before the end. But still a solid P2 for him there, and of course a Red Bull on the podium. Very unsurprising here. The Red Bull, of course, looking to be a very strong team here this year in Division 1. But my, what a race that was! Honestly, had a little bit of everything here today.
Yeah, except a safety car virtual, which I expected, but it didn't come out. Fair play to all the drivers not close to virtual or safety, because it's very likely around here. But yeah, fantastic job again to Relentless Nathan, second win in a row and second pole in a row as well, so he's on good form despite being a reserve driver. Looks like it is a championship fight, but we'll see if he keeps that AlphaTauri seat to have his full time and will come back. But yeah, Jeroen Vizza down in P3 there, 1.5 seconds behind. He did not have a penalty, but yeah, pitting way too late in my opinion. He should have pitted like 2 laps before, then he would have been in that fight. Yeah, that's Jeroen Vizza there needs to work on the strategy. But Marks, that's the fastest lap, interestingly, 18.3, so pick up another point there. But QVR Campbell, despite having that puncture, still recovers to P5, so very good drive from him indeed.
Yeah, very good drive indeed. Being able to salvage that top 5. I mean, Red Bull 3-4. That's definitely good for their constructors' championship, and I'm sure their own drivers. But I'm sure Nathan wishing he had a full-time seat there. But of course, if he does end up getting one, his points should be transferred over. But that's been a fantastic start there. As let's just get the rest of the field in there very quickly before I lose out on that screen. But still a very good race all throughout. I was hoping for a little bit of intermediate tire, a little bit of wet weather racing. Was not meant to be, even with the rain falling ever so slightly. But still, the drivers came to race. They put on a show for us, and what a show it was. But I mean, you got to hand it to Nathan. He's, even as a reserve, seems to be the driver to beat here. In these early stages. Now, there we go. So I think we're already getting set for the podium interviews. We've got Jeroen here already in the party. So, Jeroen, can you hear us at all?
Yeah, all good.
All right, perfect. I'm just jumping into the showroom here. Got to get that Red Bull on screen. So, I mean, a good race from you, all considered, ending up in third at the end of it. But talk us through it. What were your thoughts here after that Grand Prix?
Yeah, I made a bit of strategic disaster going staying out on the soft so long. I hope for the rain to fall, because yeah, my tire wear was very good, so I hope to stay out till the rain. Didn't work out. Went to the mediums, and yeah, then I had to catch like 6 seconds to the top group in the train. Hit some unfortunate traffic as well. Yeah, pace was good in the end, and P3 is maximum.
Oh my goodness, excuse me. I'm a little bit lost here through there, but here, sorry, Jamie. Do you have anything, any questions at all for Jeroen?
How difficult were the conditions out there, Jeroen, on those greasy track?
To be fair, the whole track was fine. Yeah, I was on fresh and mediums as well, but yeah, only the exit onto the main straight was yeah, it was a bit sketchy, but the rest was fine.
We saw QVR Campbell have a puncher the lap before you pitted. Did you have any signs of a puncher?
On the softs, yeah, the last lap when I pitted, I was like 75%, 76, but yeah, was all good.
Yeah, well, good job on the podium, mate. Your first podium of the season, I believe?
No, I got P2 last week.
Yeah, of course you did. Second podium of the season, so good job, Jeroen, mate.
Yeah, decent result.
Yeah, very good race. It's a third, a second, and possibly a top step soon for you. But good job on another strong finish here.
Thanks.
So I'll since I see everybody had jumped in, I'll go. We did third place here. We'll keep first for a little bit. I'll jump to Wouter next as second. I mean, it was a good race from you. The strategy seemed to have worked out. Just couldn't quite get that win in the end. But Wouter, talk us through it. What were your thoughts here after that race?
Start off with the rain. I was like 10 minutes in. I thought my softs weren't gonna last. Luckily it did, and then I pitted and safety car came. Future safety came out, and it helped a lot. And then I don't know. I started fighting Mark a little bit too much, I think, and that lost me too much time to Nathan. But I think he would have catched me in the end anyway. But I'm happy with P2.
That's good. And I did want to ask, I mean, of course, I'm sure the weather played a little bit of a factor there for you, but let's say, had we not seen the rain, had we just been full dries, did you feel like as if you had the pace to get the win here, or were you a little bit worried about some of the other drivers around you?
The only one I would have been worried about is Nathan, because I think Nathan is quicker, yeah. But in the dry, I don't know. It was close first stint. I don't know if I could have kept that. Maybe. I think in the dry I would have made a bit less. I think it could have been. Yeah, it could have been. It could definitely been the win if it was dry. But yeah, it wasn't. So it didn't work out.
All right, Jamie. Anything to add at all?
Yeah, how were the tyres towards the end? Because I know you were dropping off, Nathan, just a little bit. Were the tyres just dropping off there for you, mate?
I was struggling, especially through the last sector at the end, because I think it was a bit wetter in the last sector than the first two. But yeah, my tires were 70%, a bit iffy on the tires. But for the yeah, it wasn't that bad. It was doable.
When you pitted, were you surprised that Jeroen, Vizzer, and QVR Capital stayed out longer?
Not really. I know Jeroen had good like tire wear, but. Yeah, I got lucky with the future stage and it helped me. So I don't know. They would have definitely helped for them in the end of the race with the fresher mediums.
How were the track conditions out there? Were they tricky for you?
Yeah, like I said, the last sector was really bad. I kept looking up into the chicane.
Yeah.
And that lost me a little bit of time.
All right. Well, I mean, it was still, I mean, a great showing from you at the end. P2, a good haul of points, and so Wouter, congratulations on the podium.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. So I guess last but not least, let's put the, I believe it was the AlphaTauri that you were in here. So Nathan, I mean, another race here in Division 1, another stellar qualifying session, and once again, finding yourself on the top step of the podium. Congratulations, but here, talk us through it. What were your thoughts here on that race?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, quali was good, obviously. I think it was like 3.3 temps ahead of Campbell in P2, which obviously is like something you obviously want to see. But yeah, obviously going in a race, it was a bit interesting because like initially it just said clouds, like no rain, and then we asked Jeff, I think, like on lap 1, and he was like, "Oh, there's gonna be rain," and we were like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna make it a little bit interesting." Hence why kind of stayed out like a little longer. I think I pitted lap 12, but yeah, wasn't too worried because obviously Mark had gained I think 5 seconds, but because of the train, like even though I got stuck behind Commentators and Old School, it kind of helped when obviously Wouter and Mark started battling, and then because they were in the hard/medium train, they couldn't really like get up to speed. So yeah, it was just a case of get past Commentist and Old School, and then just obviously start making little inroads on Mark and Wouter, and then just use the tyre advantage, which obviously in the final few laps managed to just like keep pushing in the changeable conditions.
Yeah, and I do, I mean, it looked like once you did finally, well, I'll say finally, but once you did get the overtake done on Wouter there to take the lead, it seemed like you never really looked back. Did you have any point that you were worried that, maybe I wouldn't have this, or were you feeling confident that once you got back into the lead of the race, you weren't going to let that go?
Well, initially I was actually just going to sit behind them because obviously Spain with its long pitch straight, you get in, I don't know what, plus like 5 plus temps. I mean, I was running 11 temp wings, so almost like as high as you get. And I think to Campbell, I was using like 6 tenths on the pit straight in the dry. So yeah, it was a case of either try and push on and like break the DRS to Malcolm Walter, or just sit behind him until like the last couple of laps. But as soon as the changeable conditions hit, and I saw like the traction gain, because I always quite enjoy like changeable conditions, so it was it was quite. I mean, it was actually quite fun to drive, just like being on the limit of the car. So I think once I saw the gap was like 9 tenths, then it was kind of a case of we can like break the DRS here.
Awesome. I mean, you really looked in your element there with the interchangeable conditions. I mean, congratulations once again. And Jamie,
Cheers.
Anything to add at all?
You pretty much looked in condition all race, and you second win in a row. You've done a fantastic job yet again, Nathan. I don't really have much to say, so congratulations, mate, and well done. I hope you get a full-time seat because you look like you're in a championship fight, mate.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. All right. So I think on that note, we're just about ready to wrap up the stream here. So I mean, before I get through the closing words here, Jamie, any final comments, remarks here before we wrap it up?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me to another race again, mate.
No problem. Thanks for joining in. I mean, congratulations to the podium, Nathan. Congratulations once again on the victory. But what a race that was here. But unfortunately, we've hit the end of the stream. We've hit the end of the race weekend here after 3 very exciting races here in Spain. But worry not, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back, business as usual, next Sunday, where we will be taking to Italy. Not Monza though. It is the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at I believe it's San Marino, if I'm remembering my areas right. But it's Imola. You're not going to want to miss that one. It's going to be a good one. But until then, on behalf of Jamie, myself, and everybody here at ISRL Esports, thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic evening.